Hey guys, Rick from Vortex-RC. Before I show you the final mods for this chuck glider, I just thought I'd share with you some of the changes I've made and why. Starting with the gift card reinforcement and the gift card control surfaces that I was using. Well, I've removed those and I've changed my mind, and I'll show you why now. I'm using popsicle sticks and icy pole sticks. And I'm just going to show you a comparison of weight, which makes all the difference when you're building something that you want to try and maintain as light as possible. Okay guys, so what I'm going to show you here is the difference in weight of materials that can be used when you're making these planes. And if you remember, I was using the gift card method for increasing the control surface area of the ailerons and the rudder and the elevator. So if you remember, I had 2 gift cards for each aileron. So that's for the first. There's another 2 there. That's the ailerons covered. Then I had 1 each for the elevator, and then I had 1 final one for the rudder. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gift cards I was using, and as you can see, I added a total of 35 to 36 grams of weight. Now with the final modifications you're about to see, I did away with all that. So let's wipe that from the scales. And I used popsicle sticks or icy pole sticks in place of. So once again, I had 2 popsicle sticks for each elevator. I had 1 each for 2 popsicle sticks for each aileron rather. I had 1 each for the elevator. And I had one final one for the rudder. Now have a look at that difference in weight. I removed 36 grams of weight by taking away the gift cards, and I have only added now 8 to 9 grams of weight with the change in building materials, if you like. So that's a great achievement. The glider is nowhere near as heavy as it was. Now we'll progress with the final modifications coming up next. Okay, continuing on with these fixes for this chuck glider. So here I'm simply going to demonstrate how I increased the aileron, elevator and rudder authority for this model. As you know, I wasn't happy with the amount of up and down elevator and aileron throw and so on. I wasn't really getting the control that I needed. So I've decided to make the elevator and the rudder bigger, and I'm going to do the same with the ailerons later on, as you'll see. So I've just decided to cut out an extra depth there, as you can see. So I've done one side, and I'm about to do the same with the other side. So it's even on both sides for the elevator control. So using my ruler and taping it in place so it doesn't move when I perform the cut. Getting out my X-Acto blade, just making the measurements, making sure it's the same on both sides. And here I am, I'm about to cut the other side of the elevator. So I've made that one bigger as well. So just taking off the control horns and the pieces that belong to the servos because they're in the way. And there you have it, I've made the cut. And that's where the new elevator section is going to go shortly. So I've cut the 2 elevator pieces away. It's sitting on the bench there, and now I'm going to work on securing those 2 pieces so that they don't fold into each other where the original cuts were, as you can see. So I'm not going to use gift card reinforcement for this part. I've decided to use popsicle sticks, or icy pole sticks as we call them. And I'll show you in a moment what I mean. So I'm going to stop the first part of that elevator from folding now that I've made it bigger. So I've got an original cut there which I'm going to secure with a popsicle stick like so. So I'm just working out whether I should put it on top or on the bottom. I decided to put it on top. Now I'm just cutting out the sticky tape away from the foam there, so that when I apply the hot glue, I've got a really strong adhesion directly with the foam and not on top of the tape. So I've cut that away, as you can see. Just doing the same to both sides. And that is pretty much ready now for hot gluing into position. So that'll hold the two elevator sections together, because the original one wasn't as deep, and I've made the elevator much wider, much deeper, and I have to stop the first one from folding or bending into the second one. So that's the first piece, secured together with a popsicle stick, or an icy pole stick as we call it here in Australia. Pretty strong, that's all it needs to be too. Now I will cover those later with tape to make a smoother airflow, or to have a smoother airflow over that, to reduce drag. As you can see, the elevator looks exactly the way it should. Nicely shaped. Just putting a bead of glue on the underside and spreading it evenly and flat. That'll increase the strength underneath as well without having to put a further popsicle stick. Now I've just glued the other popsicle stick for the other control surface. And I'm putting a bead of glue on the underside of that also, smoothing that out, making it flat and level, and the two pieces are done. So I've re-secured the new elevator shape. Much thicker, much wider, much deeper. Ready to put back on the tailplane. Now, obviously I have to make a bevel cut for that so that it moves up and down. The articulation will be even on the up motion and the down motion, and I'm just simply using a knife to do this. As you know from my previous videos, I don't really like using an X-Acto when I make the bevel or the taper. I get a much better result with a sanding block, but I'm not being too fast with this one. I'm making do, plus I'm improving my skills with the knife when I cut the bevel this way. It's a bit of a hack job, but it's more than adequate for this plane. This is an experimental for me, remember? That's the outcome. I wouldn't say it's fantastic or great, but definitely good enough. Now I can achieve a much better finish with a sanding block, but I wasn't going to go to those lengths for this, and that is more than adequate. That's the first elevator, which I will be able to tape into position in a moment, and it will have an up and down motion, like so. Just doing a test dry fit, and that's how much bigger the elevator is. Exactly what I'm after. Okay, so now I'm about to do the same thing with the other side. So using the X-Acto knife, cutting that bevel or that taper, and I'm not using a sanding block, but I am slightly improving my skills with the knife. Having said that, I still do prefer the sanding block. It gives me a much nicer, smoother, even finish. But whatever works for you is all good. Just be careful with the knife when you use it. Don't take it for granted. After all, it is a blade. But nice, gentle, easy, soft cuts, and you can't go wrong. Just doing a nice dry fit again, and it's sitting well. Just comparing it to the other one, making sure the bevel's at the right angle. And that's my second attempt. Slightly better maybe than the first one. I still personally believe I can get a smoother finish with a sanding block, but that's just me. Each to their own, I say. Whatever works for you. So that's
That's the bevel for the other elevator control surface. Just comparing them, having a look at them, doing some final trims. And they are pretty much ready to install, which is what I'm doing now. So just temporarily holding it there with some tape. And I will apply the sticky tape hinge tape in a moment. And those elevators will be installed. They're new ones. With more control surface, which is what I'm after. So here I am just applying the sticky tape. Removing the tape that I was using to tack it down and hold it in position. Doing the same to both sides. And my elevator is pretty much in place. So that's my new elevator. And it works beautifully. That's exactly what I'm after. Now I'll make sure the travel up and down is the same. And there's nothing hitting on the way up and on the way down. I'll stretch that tape a little bit if I have to, just to make sure the articulation in the up motion and the down motion is the same. But there it is, it's working beautifully. That's my new elevator. Much bigger control surface, which is what I was after. Just going through the motions and making sure the travel is acceptable both in the up and down direction. And it looks pretty good. I think I'm very happy with that. It's just a chuck glider. It's a bit of a hack job, but it's more than adequate. This will work and this will fly with that elevator surface. Now I'm just putting a thicker piece of tape over the entire popsicle stick area, and that will help with the smooth airflow over that section. So reduce the drag. And that's pretty much done. That's how quick and easy that was. Now, elevator control surfaces, or any control surfaces, is a personal choice. I'm not saying it has to be one or the other, but it was my goal after the experience I've had so far with this plane to improve and increase the control surface area for this plane. So that's the elevator section done. Just doing some trimming on the side, on the back, and I'm just going to put a strip of tape on the underside as well, just to help with that hinge. Strengthen it a bit more by putting some on the underside of the elevator also. This step's not absolutely necessary, it's up to you, but I always like to put an additional piece underneath. Just adds that additional strength to the elevator hinge. Here we go, it's done. So the new elevator is now in position and working. Just got to put the control horn back afterwards. And shortly I'm going to do the same thing with the rudder. Just double checking everything. Okay, now I'm preparing to make the rudder control surface wider, bigger, longer. And I'm just cutting an extra length at random, which I've measured. That piece will come off. There we have it. And I will apply the same technique to that new rudder piece. Stop it from bending by putting a popsicle stick in between the two, and then I'll hinge tape the new surface back onto the end of that tail. So taking up the old control hinge, or the control horn rather. Just getting a popsicle stick, or an icicle stick as we call it. Deciding where to position it, how to position it, taking off the old tape so I get a good hot glue adhesion directly to the foam, and cutting it to size. And that's it. Bead of glue, and it's pretty much done in a matter of seconds, especially with the time lapse. The magic of time lapse is amazing. Here we go. That's my new rudder. Now I've got to make a bevel cut for that. A new angled bevel cut so it will turn left and right equally. Just a quick dry fit demonstration to show you how it will sit, where it goes, and yeah, that's my new increased rudder. Bigger surface area, which is what I was after. I'm happy with that. That's pretty good. Now I'm going to prepare to make that bevel cut. I'm just working out how much and where. Okay, so I've already done it. I guess I didn't need to show you the bevel cut for that. It's the same technique using the X-Acto blade or a sanding block, whatever you choose to use. So I've made the bevel cut and I'm applying the sticky tape, which is my hinge tape, for the new rudder piece. And there it is. It is a little bit of a hack job, but for this little foamy, for this little chuck glider, which has been my experimental aeroplane, it is more than adequate and will work. So the rudder and elevator are now in place. I'm just putting back the control horns. I have a new position now as well. One for the elevator and one for the rudder. And I'm just going to hot glue those in position. Secure them into place. Make the slot, push them through. And I'm pretty much done. Just a dab of hot glue to keep it there in position. Secure the back plate on the back plastic piece to hold it in place. Making some final cuts and alterations, and that was it. So now I am going to make my new aileron surface. So as you know, I wasn't happy with the control surface articulation that I was getting from my ailerons either. So I'm going to make them that much bigger. Almost double, but slightly wider and a bit more depth. When I move those ailerons, I want the wing to bank left and right without delay. There you have it. That's the cutout. That's my new aileron. And before I reattach it, I'm going to secure those two pieces with a couple of icy-pole sticks so they become as one. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Just trimming it out, making sure it moves up and down without rubbing on either side. Pulling out my icy-pole sticks or popsicle sticks, depending where you're from. Taking away the sticky tape so I get a direct hot glue adhesion onto the foam. Exactly what I did with the elevator. So applying a bead of glue, holding it in position. With the magic of time lapse, that is pretty much done, dried. Second one. Hot glue dries pretty quickly. That's my new elevator. nice and wide, lots of depth. Exactly how I like it. I'm really happy with that. Popsicle sticks holding it there securely. Now I'm going to sticky tape that new aileron surface back into position using sticky tape as my hinge tape, just like I did with the elevator. So I've done the bevel, as you can see. Just test fitting it, making sure it's sitting where it's supposed to. First piece goes down, doing a test up and down motion. The articulation on that is beautiful. Nice up and down motion, unimpeded. It's working nicely. I'm happy with that. That's my new aileron surface. Just making sure the down motion is not being constricted by anything. Just stretching the tape slightly by applying the pressure that way, pulling it down beyond its travel slightly, because it's not going to really go down that much. It's not going to really go up that much. And putting the underside hinge tape, like I always do, just to improve the overall hinge, which is really just sticky tape. That's my aileron for the left wing, working nicely, complete. That's what she looks like underneath. I'll put a thicker piece of tape over the top of that so it covers the icy-pole sticks to reduce drag and improve the airflow over those, like I did with the elevator. So that's what I'm doing now. That'll create a nice smooth airflow over the icy-pole stick region or area on that aileron control surface. And that's it. The left wing is complete with the new aileron surface. New and improved, enlarged like I did with the elevator and the rudder. So now I'm simply doing the same thing to the right hand wing. So I've already done everything. I've already glued the popsicle sticks or the icy-pole sticks into place, and now I'm simply rehinging the new aileron strip into position. I applied exactly the same techniques that I used for the elevator, rudder, and of course the first aileron. So I'm simply finishing off the second aileron in exactly the same way. So I'm going to cover those icy-pole sticks and popsicle sticks to improve the airflow over those, like I did with all the others. And then obviously I will reattach the control horn as well. That's my second aileron strip in position, ready to go, and working nicely. Just finishing off with a bit here and there. Oh yes, doing the underside like I always like to do. Improve the strength of that hinge by putting some underneath. And this is simply a quick look at the control surface before. This is what it used to look like on the original cutout. And that's what I stuck to, that's what I used the very first time when I made the ailerons. So they were that wide, or that thin if you like. So that was my control surface before. And in a moment I'm going to show you what the aftermath is like. That is my new control surface. I'm sure you can see the difference. Much wider, much deeper. And that's what the control surfaces look like after. Just going to the back section of the plane, show you the elevator one last time. That's the rudder. And this is the working control surfaces. I've connected everything up, and this is what they look like in motion. Left, right, up, down, working really well. I should have much more control authority in the air next time this goes up. That's it, the plane's ready. Ready for launch, ready for its new flight. Can hardly wait. Ailerons are beautiful. And the elevator rudder, yeah, it's working perfectly.